Welcome back to some new PettyRevenge stories. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called On My Merry Way. Something bizarre happened on my drive to work a few days ago, and I still think about it. There was this car that was aggressively weaving between lanes, sometimes with zero warning or turn signals. At one point he tried to get into my lane, but I was already next to him. He still tried to merge and nearly ran me into the left median. I had a car in front of and behind me, so I couldn't brake too fast or speed up, and I was not in his blind spot, so I honked my horn, and he still tried to get in the lane, but ended up getting behind me and tailgating me aggressively. And I'm like, whatever dude, I'm just driving to work, this isn't Fast and Furious. Eventually he got in front of me, and I thought it was the end of it. But this guy made me his enemy, because after that he did not let me pass him, ever. I simply did not care. I was too tired for antics, but anytime I changed a lane, he'd change with me, and then slow down to slow me down. And for a while I thought, am I imagining this? So finally an exit for the toll road was coming up on the right, and I was like, screw it, I'll take the toll road, get away from this guy, and sped up to get into the exit lane. This guy went all the way from the left lane into my toll road lane, so I was like, you had no intention of being in this lane. I don't think I'm imagining things anymore. So I stayed a good distance back, waited for him to get kinda into the curve of the exit lane, to the point where he was committed to it, and I immediately changed lanes and got out. And then I watched him try to swerve out, but it was too late for him. He was in the toll lanes, and I was on my merry way. The next story is called Got Her Fired For It. I worked for many years at a large law firm and had a solid chance at a partnership. Never had a bad review. For some reasons unknown to me, a partner I worked closely with lied about me in a review, just enough to cause a problem that would delay the partnership for me. I also witnessed her extreme bullying and harassment of others, thankfully not directed at me, but it was bad. I believe the fact that I spoke out against this encouraged her to target me. Unbeknownst to her, I had already accepted an in-house position with a very important firm client when I learned about her attempt to undermine me. About 6 months later, I happened to be assigned to manage a case she was involved in. My colleagues were already upset with her poor performance, so I was tasked with firing her off the case. Under the circumstances, this was very bad for her already poor reputation internally at the firm, and cut off a huge source of her work. The third story is called eBay Feedback. This happened years ago. I had a unique designer cell phone that was associated with some fashion label. The feature of the phone was a virtual display with haptic feedback, so you press each button and the phone makes internal vibrations to simulate pressing buttons. I bought it for my girlfriend and she used it a bit, but eventually didn't like it that much, so I put it on eBay. I sold it and bidding pushed it above what I was hoping to get, shipped it off and forgot about it. A couple of weeks later I was fired from my job, so I was not paying close attention to emails, and the account I had tied to eBay was not my main personal email address. Apparently the buyer didn't like the phone and claimed it was defective. It wasn't. And because I did not respond to his desire to return the defective phone within 3 days, he used the feature on eBay to complain about being scammed. I was happy to refund the amount once I had the phone and confirmed it working. However, if it was okay, I wouldn't refund shipping costs. I get the phone, all is good, I perform the refund minus shipping. Then, 1 week later, the buyer gives me a negative review, the first one I ever received. This really set me off, because not only was he just having buyer's remorse, he was a huge jerk during the entire refund process. I eventually added him to my sellers to watch list. Now here's the petty part. 2 years later he is selling a bunch of stuff, and I had moved since then to a different state. He has a cheap electronic device listed, so I buy it using a different eBay account. Then when I get it, I contact him and state that it isn't working. He does not respond, and I file an eBay complaint. I get all annoying to him, get a refund, and then give him a bad review. The last story is called Ignorant Landlord. This story is from a while back, when I was in college, which was situated in a rather large city. Rent was not very cheap, and landlords thought they could cut corners. Unlike many of the buildings in the area, the room I rented was in a wooden house. When I toured the house, nothing stood out as unusual. The room was small but cozy. There were rather large common rooms and the roommates seemed nice. One of them was the landlord's daughter. Another plus was that they were okay with me bringing my cat and not putting down an obnoxious deposit. Cut to 2 weeks later. I moved into the room and everything seems fine, except my allergies begin to act up. I figured this was just due to allergy season being in full swing, despite not usually having allergies act up. 1 month in, my allergies are worse and I start to notice small things around the house that seem to just be MacGyvered. For example, the sink piping is duct taped and the bathtub had a crack, which seemed to be glued together. At 1.5 months, allergies are again worse and my cat begins acting really weird. They start running into things, acting confused and having what looks like muscle twitching. I took her to the vet and was told that they believe she's ingested a large amount of mold. Dr. Google confirmed that this is a possibility, given her symptoms, and fully explains how I've been feeling. I end up asking my friend to watch my cat for a couple of days while I look for the source of mold in the house. Remembering the weird handy jobs performed in the bathroom, I removed the little piece of wood that covered the area between the bathtub and the ground. It was elevated on some plastic feet, only to find it covered in fuzzy black growth. I immediately replaced the wood, which had growth on the back side of it too, and checked under the sink. It looked like there was old water damage on the bottom of the cabinet, but no mold. That is until I shone a light into a small hole cut out in the back of the cabinet. Again, the entire area that I could see was covered. I don't know if it was psychological, but I ended up getting watery eyes and sneezing a bunch while on the hunt for mold. I immediately showed my roommate, who then called her dad about the mold. The dad essentially said it's nothing serious and he'll get to it when he has time. Well, 1 week later, he's done nothing about it. Wanting to bring my cat back, I called to ask him for an update. And he said that he had consulted with a professional who said it didn't sound like mold and that I should just keep it covered. I was upset, but this being my first rental, I had no idea how to handle it. And for as nice as the landlord's kid was, she really didn't try to help persuade him. After some research, I found that in my area, mold is a hazard that landlords are required to take care of. While this wasn't stated in my contract, it was a contractual obligation he had. I called the landlord with this information and told him that I'll be withholding my rent until he sends someone to look at the issue. He flat out laughed and said I can't do that and that he wouldn't allow me to break my lease early. I was upset and too nervous to bring my cat back into the house. After reviewing some more local codes, I decided that instead of withholding rent, I would report the issue to the municipality in hopes of them taking action. Within 72 hours, they sent an inspector out to not only check the areas I mentioned finding mold in, but also do a full inspection of the home. They spent at least 2 hours walking around the interior and exterior, looking under every appliance and into any accessible space. After the review was done, they told me that the mold damage was far more extensive than I thought. Essentially, the entire house had become infested due to the moist condition and poor ventilation. He said that this would require extensive work and that I would not be able to stay in my room during this time. But that's not all. The inspector also found over a dozen code and permit violations, each of which would have to be remedied or else a huge fine would be levied. The inspector sent a letter detailing his findings to the landlord, and I got an angry call from him. He was screaming about how I shouldn't have gotten them involved and how he was actually planning on coming out that weekend. I was too timid to boast about this win, but I did state that, per the inspector's finding, I will be moving out, as I am legally allowed to break the lease if conditions are unlivable. He said I'm not allowed to, and I told him to take me to court in that case. I moved all my stuff out that day with some help from friends and crashed with a friend watching my cat during this ordeal. I was able to get a room in a much nicer house rather quickly and kept in contact with one of the other roommates from the previous home. Apparently, the landlord tried to rent out my room again and didn't take the inspector's letter seriously. Even the part that stated that they have, I believe it was 1 month to take care of all violations before they would be fined daily per violation, amounting to over $1,000 per day. Things got weird for him after about 5 weeks, when he got multiple letters from the municipality detailing all of his fines and how the rates will go up if he continues to ignore them. Last I heard, he scrambled to respond to correct all of the violations, but not before his fines amounted to $50,000 and he was forced to have all tenants move out. I noticed the house for sale a few months later. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.